That's too long to wait. 30 seconds is everybody's gone. Hey, folks,
That's
welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm Chris Nielsen, and that's
I'm
where you
Jim
say,
Williams.
very good. We're going to get better at that part of it back and forth here
Absolutely.
as we continue our conversation. Today, we're trying to connect the dots and talk about what we've learned and what we've experienced and what we've been trying to pay attention to around what's going on in the world of artificial intelligence, tech, and all things considered related to that. We're going off of kind of a list here. I'm going to just go to this list that we're going to come back to on a fairly regular basis, just because these are really key topics that we want to cover, that are all related to, what are the right questions that we need to be asking about artificial intelligence and how it's going to impact our lives. Today we want to focus probably more on the security, regulation, and economic impact that is happening uh, in real time, faster than we can all hang on to. I feel like sometimes, Jim, you ever feel like that meme of a cat hanging on, just barely by a couple fingernails? There's so much coming at us so fast. Um, so one of the things to start off with, let's start off with the the economics aspect of this, because everybody's concerned about their jobs and what the new jobs of the future are going to be. We've been uh, told, and we're starting to see this in real time, that this is the year of agents, and all of the AI models are gearing towards automated systems, if you will. If you have a skill as an architect and you can in a linear sense, plan out uh, kind of workflows or things that happen in a succinct order, if you are good at that kind of thinking, you're probably going to be able to leverage these agents and be able to use them for employment opportunities. There are so many, because you have this Gemini camp, you have the AI world, or the open AI, you have so many different versions of all of these same kinds of tools going on. And you gave a demonstration last time, and what we'll try to do is bring back some more demonstrations of a couple things, even if it's other YouTube videos, people that are showing some examples, and then we'll talk about how people might be able to apply them. But what do you think about the agents, Jim, and what is going on with this technology and where they can be applied as people start thinking about the economics of their jobs coming and going?
The first wave of agents is going to hit any service that is really internet based or is within a company, a service that involves a person just solving a customer's problem without having to create anything physical. So that's like you call in, you have a complaint about um, your 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 tablet isn't working right or whatever. An AI agent will go through the whole process of being able to fix it right there.
And then
The
they'll
AI
realize if somebody's irate, oh man, we're not going to give them a human.
yeah,
They're going to have to bitch at the AI. If they're
yeah, and
polite,
and
maybe they'll get to talk to a human.
it it won't even matter because the AI agent won't care what their demeanor is. It'll basically talk to them the same, friendly tone regardless of how they are
Yeah,
reacting,
but one of the things,
which I'm sure will get very frustrating for the
yeah, well,
humans.
my point is that you're going to be able to set up the algorithm to
Correct.
determine what is the right touch point for a human. So there's the customer service side where they're like, "Hey, I've got a problem with something. How can you fix it?" And they'll go through all the steps to try and fix
Right.
it. If they can't fix it, then they go to a
Oh,
human. But then there's the sales side, and I was watching a demonstration of this where they're going along and they're saying, "Well, hey, this is the perfect point. We've already kind of qualified them This is when we want to connect with the human because we're going to have a better chance to make a sale.
Well, even in both cases, a lot of this, the humans won't know that they're talking to an AI.
Yeah.
The AIs will be quite indistinguishable.
Oh, and like the lady that we follow,
From the real human.
what's the name of the lady that we follow? Yeah,
Julia
she's like
McCoy.
fantastic. She's got this avatar that is her AI
Correct.
spokesperson, and you'll be talking to it though. Until she told me, I wasn't 100% sure because you know, once I realized there's a pattern in how she's looking off to the side, and once I realized that that's a
Right.
rotation, then I saw it, and then I went,
But
yeah.
even
Anyways,
so,
undetectable.
but even so, the other reason why it'll be so, not just the fact that the AIs will be very human-like in how they communicate, you know, the cantonation that they use, pauses, they'll be pauses just like you and I use pauses, even more so when talking to somebody in the role of like customer service, now being replaced by an AI agent. That AI agent instantly has information available to it.
Yeah, so much more information available than a regular person wouldn't have.
That a real person, right? That a real person would be like, well, hold on a second, I gotta find out this. The AI will be able to grab it like that, and the reason why is the company's just gonna feed the AI all of its data. So it has it instantly. You can't do that with a human. Not yet.
Well, yeah. There's a lot to that. You know, customer 347 that called in with the same complaint. You know, this is how we resolved it. You know, and so it'll have all of that information to
Correct.
you know, we're going to see that probably in.
That's already being deployed.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things to this regard with these agents, I think we're going to see. You know, there's a lot of talk about this getting implemented in the medical industry. So you go to your doctor, and just a little example. So I had to get. I just moved to South Carolina. I got a new doctor, and I went in for my first visit. You know, and they did my vitals, and they got my information, and they knew what, you know, medications I was on and that sort of thing. And then they did the blood work, and they have that, and it just like normal, it goes into a portal, and the doctor, you know, listens and asks me a bunch of questions, and from that she gets a profile of, you know, what's going on with my world of health. Now, I was asking her for some more advanced kinds of things that I want for more holistic health and that kind of thing. But the thing is let's say that something came up, you know, say high cholesterol came up in the blood thing. Well, there's already going to be all this data from every other patient that's ever had this kind of abnormally or you know, this type of situation.
Abnormality.
So it's already going to have like the recommendations. All that could be automated and sent to me in my portal. So the part that my doctor's doing is they're just kind of being like the security guard to make sure that all this information is correct in this kind of next generation of how these systems are implemented. Because it's like like if you go to court, you realize it's just a system. There's a lawyer involved because they know the system and how that's all processed, the due process, as they say. So as we have, you know, I guess become more mature as a society, we've found algorithms and systems for all aspects of our life. And the artificial intelligence, I believe, especially with this more automated and more readily available information, is going to just take that to the next level. And then where is the place then for the human that doesn't necessarily know as much as the AI in regards to my health? They may have studied and they have a specialty and that sort of thing. You know, in the case of a doctor, how will their needs for skills change in relationship to how the technology is advising them, as opposed to, what they're traditionally going to school for? And take that to, for marketing or any other kind of profession, because marketing is one of the first things that people seem to be automating, right? It's like we can go out and grab all this information and put all these tweets and these posts, because it's like
Right.
mass mailing. It's a percentage. We get a 2 or 3% return on this marketing initiative, and they don't care what the crap
Right.
they're gonna
But then of course,
yeah.
Chris, you have your own AI agent out there looking at all those
Filtering all
things
the
that
crap that's
they are
coming at
sending
me.
you. Correct. So you basically have AI agents communicating with AI agents. There's no human involved.
Yeah, I think
Really.
one of the things that you were showing me, or one of the links that you sent me this week, was how to filter your email, and I'm like, oh my god, I get because I used to have a web technology company. We built websites and serviced infrastructures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I get like 10 emails a day. Still, the company's closed. I still get emails saying, we want a strategic partnership with you, or we want to put you on the CEO of the year kind of a thing for this and that. And I'm like, I just want to filter out all those kinds of requests and make them, just kind of, it comes in and goes right into the garbage or the trash, as they say.
Yeah, you would think Google has one of those unsubscribe things, automated things now. To it, Gmail at least does.
Well, yeah, that I try that, and
you
I
still
still
get
say
a
company closed. Bye bye. Take me off your list. But
Yeah,
that
yeah,
takes time.
yeah, and it doesn't
That's a
matter.
time suck. I'm trying to get rid of all those time sucks. But then I never
Right.
feel
But I
alone
mean,
because
when it comes
what's
down
what
to
what'd you say?
when it comes down to, as far as like doctors and their role, or in marketing and their role, I mean, really, like you said, it comes down to like the doctor becomes like the gatekeeper to make sure that what's coming out makes sense. And in that case, you really have to have, when dealing with AI and what it gives back to you, you really have to have two things: critical thinking and a skeptic's point of view.
Be skeptical of
Be
everything
skeptical
that
of
is being
everything that
said to
is
you.
being said to you.
I mean,
I
these
mean,
days in life,
these
be doing
days in
that in
life, be
general,
doing that in general, because
you can go down
you can go down
that
rabbit
people want to
holes
take you
that
down,
people want to take you
and then
down,
you discover later,
and then you discover
why
later,
did I
like,
go down that
why did I go down that rabbit hole
with this? Because
with this?
they're
Because
wrong about it.
they're wrong about it, or
They're exaggerating.
they're exaggerating.
So that's something that
we're going to have to
deal with over the next
couple years, I think, with AI.
But in a few
years,
everything is going to be
completely different.
Well, I agree with that. One of my questions, we want to get into a little bit with bias. Okay. So let's say, okay, you can look at it kind of from a couple different perspectives. I'm going to go use the medical as an example. So doctors are put in a position where they have to provide, I want to say, defensive medicine, because if you say, oh, I've got a pain right here, okay, well, they go through the list. It could be this, and this. Well, okay, so we have to order these tests. They just talked about a chest pain. That could be this, or this.
It's
They have to be super proactive, because if they don't respond, you could sue them, right? So that's the the structure of the law thing.
Right.
The other thing that I noticed is that we know what that is. Here's a medication for you, okay, and you take the medication. They get paid from the pharmaceutical companies a small percentage for all the medications that they that they prescribe. They get a cut. That's why the pharmaceutical companies go and lobby and try to connect with the doctors, so that if you've got 2 or 3 choices with medication, well, if they all work the same, you're probably going to go to the one that pays the best, right? And that was where things like when Viagra came out or whatever, they give free samples or whatever these, whatever the new medication is, that's where a lot of those kinds of things, came to be. So with that, here's what I'm getting at with the biases. So if a doctor, your gatekeeper, has is being influenced by the medications, in that they have, and think of this from the AI could be biased in its recommendations, so that you become in need of or dependent on a particular medication. Okay.
That would be a
That would be a
Yeah, what I'm saying is that there could be elements of this, whether there would be some kind of a justification or not. There could be biases that could be different than, if it's just generic. Human goes in, the AI does what it's told to do. The doctor checks it, voila. But what if, just like people have different expectations or considerations related to their health, kind of like a do not resuscitate order or something like that, in extreme cases, you could have preferences. Will you have that ability to set your preferences to what you want the AI to look for? Is that part of what you get out of that experience with your doctor and that conversation, to have them determine that relationship
Right,
that you have
if you
with
just
the
take this
AI
right
that's
on-
making those decisions and those calculations, if you will.
Right. I mean, would it really be any different than talking to your doctor? I mean, that depends on generation. My parents never questioned their doctor, and quite honestly, I haven't seen a doctor in years. And when you start talking about medications and them getting 10% or whatever they get, I have no idea, because I have never been on any medication more than a day. Really. Except
Well,
for one
you
thing,
know,
to
to that point, and this is something I think people should perhaps think about more, or I'm trying to think about it more, and I hope other people will too, is that you, for example, you're on a really strict or specific diet. You're really, really good at, taking care of your stomach and your bionome, and having the right balance in your nutrition. And now you did that did you have allergies to certain foods?
no, I mean, probably
You got,
not too many. I got very blurry, didn't I? I have no idea
yeah,
why.
you got blurry. I don't know.
That's weird.
Is it fuzzy logic?
Hang on a second. Let me just turn it off and turn it back on. Yeah,
Is that a bandwidth thing? I don't know. That's weird.
I don't know if it's a bandwidth or it was because it was a focus thing.
Stop. It's a focus thing. There we go. Now you're back. Decided to catch some light.
Short,
you got short. You gotta.
Yeah. I mean, a
lot of headroom there.
All the
maybe I should get down over here. Like
it's the one thing.
Well,
yeah. Now I'm too tall.
We're gonna have fun.
But
there we go. Much
thing,
better.
It's the one thing that I've noticed, because I do take care of myself better than other people. I've noticed that they've gotten shorter to me over the years.
Other people have gotten shorter to you?
They've gotten shorter to me because, I get up every day, and I do 2 things every day. I do high intensity exercise for 4 to 6 minutes. And then I follow it up with yoga for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. And I've been doing the yoga 2004 every day. 2 days and 24 40 years, 20 plus years. So, I don't
Well,
know.
you're a pretty healthy guy from.
Yeah, in some ways, like, I feel better now than I did when I was 30, which is almost a lifetime ago, half a lifetime ago.
Yeah, time flies.
Yes,
Okay,
it
so
does.
back
But
back to
anyways, back
bias.
to what
What would be
I
another
mean,
example of bias
but the
that we should
problem,
be aware of or thinking about?
but I think in you being able to set your own preferences with an AI, let's say in the doctor situation, the problem is that now you bring in your own biases
That's
of what
true.
you might want to know, but more critically, when it comes to your medical diagnosis, what you're afraid to know, you might avoid, which could be detrimental to you.
Yeah, it's like if I got cancer, I don't want to know. I mean, do you
Just
really
go
want that? Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I'm kind
tell
of the
my
same
wife, but
way.
don't tell me.
Right.
Uh
Tell her you only got 6 months to live, but and you just live it out blissfully until it happens.
well,
So
and yeah, that's a wow, that's a lot to think about right there.
it is because, and that's one of the things I want people to understand and listen. You got to listen to yourself in all this. These things. It's not just about what AI is going to be doing. It's about how you are going to choose to interact with the technology. Whether or not when you go into a doctor's office, you sit down and talk to a robot or talk to a doctor, what you say is entirely up to you. What you want them to know is entirely up to you. You can
Well, not
necessarily
necessarily, because they in a say a video interview,
yeah, they could
they're going to
pick
be
up
able to
on
see the
something.
blood flow in your
Yeah.
they're going to be able to tell your vitals. They're going to look into your eye. They're going to get your breathing patterns. They're going to know more about what's going on than what you're able to say. They'll be able to determine so much from that immersive kind of space, having that kind of a communication. I mean,
Yeah, I
right
mean,
now,
right.
one of the books that I read, they were talking about how invasive this immersive technology is. Now, to create the full metaverse immersive experiences, they have to know, they have to look at your eyes, they have to know what's going on with your blood pressure and all these other things. They can also tell, because you're making movements, like think of a Wii where you're like, batting, or you're doing some kind of an activity in front of it. It needs to know your motions. Well, just by forget any of the other eyes and temperatures or any of those things, which are even more revealing, just your hand gestures, it can tell your sex, your sexual preference. It can tell all kinds of these things about you that, like, where did that come from?
Mhm.
It's able to determine so many characteristics about you just from how you move your hands. I mean, gosh, I talk with my hands, so that it probably knows.
Do you have Italian in you? Because you use your hands a lot.
Well, yeah, it's sign language, yeah.
Whatever
Anyways,
works.
but that's the thing is that with those capabilities, there was that whole TV show called Lie to Me, where he could just look at, you could tell by the expressions in your eyes. And there's a lot of science around this for CIA interviews and so forth, FBI, whatever. They've there's a few people that have kind of spoken out and done YouTube channels on it and so forth. So it's a whole science, and that's just one little piece of it.
I mean,
Um,
going back to the fundamental. You know, it's also how do you lie to yourself?
oh, we do it all the time, don't we?
Oh yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yes, absolutely. it's the biggest thing that one I think as an adult has to conquer the most is the lies we tell ourselves about everything that we choose.
Oh, that's like a whole can of worms, because one of the things, and I talk about this in my book, or my sessions around the book, is, and I truly believe that we all can benefit from taking more time to center ourselves. Like, you've got your routine that you're doing every day. I should be doing a better routine, but anyways, you have a routine. Well, yeah, I got my coffee routine, and then I could, yeah. But no, I do try to stretch and some other things. I don't have as strict of a regiment as you may have, which is great. I appreciate your discipline. But if we're able to take enough time to think and center ourselves, like one of the things that a while ago, I used to drive 40 minutes to work and 40 minutes back. That drive time was almost my meditation time, because that's when I got all my thoughts together. In the morning, I was getting getting everything organized so I could be really productive when I got into work. And then on the way home, it was all about, okay, what I got? Laundry. I got, what else do I have to do? Or what do I have to think about? Whose birthday is it? It's more personal things. But that time where I couldn't do anything else except that reflection of sorts, that really helped my overall routine in balancing my life. And I think that we have to take time to connect with the things that are important to us, and some of that, for me, I found kind of in my current chapter, I really have to find time to just have silence and slow down and find that kind of Zen space, so that I can reflect on, there's so much going on in the world, especially all this stuff with artificial intelligence. It's a lot to think about, and it's a lot to keep track of, a lot of information to gather and then process. And I think that it's really important that it's nothing, I get obsessive compulsive in that, like, okay, I'll watch 30 videos in a row and just kind of try to absorb it. And what I have to do is step back and realize I can't absorb it all at one time. I have to take it over a period of time and pace my consumption so that I can digest it all. Otherwise you get overwhelmed, and then you don't really. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people. They get overwhelmed with all the things that are going on in their life. And regardless of how much is going on, being able to take that time to just step back, I think, is really important. Find that Zen time. Well, let's go back to jobs. How do you think the job market's going to change? I mean, one of the things, there's a lot of rhetoric right now about, oh, well, AI is going to create all these new jobs, and then it's going to take away a lot of jobs. So what kinds of jobs do you think are going away? And then let's come back to what kinds of jobs do you think will be created?
The jobs that are already starting to go away are lower to mid level jobs. You're still seeing the high end where AI is more used as a tool to enhance the upper end.
Like if you're a senior programmer, coder,
correct,
you don't really have to worry, because there's going to be a need for your ability to kind of see the whole big picture. But the junior programmers that had to work for years to get up to be what you had to do to get to be a senior programmer, all their jobs can be done.
Right.
Well, how does somebody get to be a senior level programmer then?
Same thing with customer service. Typically you'd start off right on the phone talking with somebody. That's not going to be necessary. First, they started with putting an automation system where they could filter calls to the right person or right department
which eliminated the need
for a receptionist sitting there answering the phone, doing that job,
or a secretary. Those jobs have not been covered
ever since
email,
email,
which replaced a lot of mail
which replaced a lot of mail
secretaries and
correspondence, which
receptionists
secretaries and receptionists
did, and
and
the
front
companies
answering
answering calls or any
communications with the outside part of the company,
ever contacted them.
ever contacted
That wasn't somebody that
wasn't somebody that was
already connected.
already
You know what
connected.
I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
Well, my question with that is that how,
those are going to be
again, going similar to the senior level programmer, okay, whether it's customer service or whatever the job is, it's
So
it enhances the CEOs, like the higher level. It'll enhance the VP's
job.
job
By
by the AI being able to do a better job than those lower
level
humans
at
those front line positions.
Because as we have
said, they have that
complete
complete knowledge base to
They
draw
don't have
from.
to go
They don't have to go ask
what did
boss,
we do on this?
what did we do on this
They have
thing?
instant
They have instant, almost instant.
yeah, but okay,
all
as
that.
as an entrepreneur, or like take it, a restaurant.
Yeah.
You start out as a dishwasher, then you work as
Yeah.
a waiter, then you work as a cook, then you work as a maitre d', then you work as an assistant manager, then you become
Right.
the manager. Okay, you work your way up. But if you're just coming in the door, I want to start a restaurant. Okay, I click the button. Everything's automated. Now the restaurant's operating, and we got a problem. What do we do, Chris? I don't know. I've never done it before. I have no clue. The dishwasher didn't show up, or the automated robot system for the dishes is down. How do we get the dishes clean
Down.
in order to do that? Well, I don't know how to wash dishes. My point is, like,
Right.
we get dumber.
No,
We
those
get
are
dumber
good.
with technology.
It can be. I mean, you have when something happens to that technology, obviously you have
issues like
airlines have experienced when their systems are down and everybody becomes, all the customers become irate because their system fails.
It's down and
It's
there's
down,
basically
and there's basically
they don't
nothing
have
they can do. They don't have a
backup
old paper system
to work
in case of that.
So that would be incumbent upon
who's
companies
implementing those AI systems
to actually put in
backup.
the higher level people. This is what they get paid.
Is to mitigate
those
potential failures.
Yeah, but okay, so
first predict what they're going to be, and then once you've predicted what they're going to be, then you actually have to have things in place. I mean, NASA's done this for decades and decades, obviously with spaceflight, where they have redundant systems.
That's what that is.
Well, I guess like in the case of the airline, as the executive in charge of it, you're human. You can say, well, you can ask AI and say, well, what should I do? What are my options? And then you choose from that. That can be helpful, I suppose, but you're still dependent on that AI if the electric's out. Like, for example, electric's out. You can't ask AI. You got a problem. You've got all these bags. All right. Well, you can talk to, if you understand the process, if you understand how those bags got from the plane to the baggage checkout, you can just say, hey guys, get out there with a wagon, fill it up, drive it around, and manually take it out and put it over there, as opposed to, relying on this automated system for the bags. Now, it'd probably be more complicated than that, of course. But what I'm saying is that if you understand the process by having worked your way up, whatever system it is, you're going to be better equipped to be able to make those kinds of problem-solving decisions. But again, like a programmer, what's going to happen to if you don't have a way to ramp up to be that top level expert? There's in the music business, there's a lot of people that make beats. Well, they grab a loop, There's a whole library. Click a button. Oh, I like this loop. You made a loop. Well, they create music with these various pieces, and it's even more advanced with AI now. But my point is that that's okay. But as a trained composer, musician, instrumentalist, you go, I know how to make that beat. I know how to play that chord on a guitar or a ukulele or a piano or whatever. And instead of the loop that's triggering something. So it's how do then again, okay, on the other side of this, you have people that have more time now. Okay, so you have this time. Well, okay, how are you going to spend your time? You're going to spend more time learning. How you're not going to be as necessarily as hands-on, but how much of that boring processes that we're offloading to AI do we really care about or want to do? But we can understand it conceptually.
Right.
More of a question, I guess. It's
well,
like
I mean,
speaking with my hands again.
Talking about backup systems, I guess if you were take the physical case of like restaurants, where obviously, and I'm told this is actually starting to happen with like Dunkin' Donuts, is they're replacing humans with more automated systems. Eventually, a lot of probably the bigger chains first will start to use some humanoid robot, probably within the next. You know what? If I say 5 years, it happens in 2.
So say 2, it'll happen tomorrow.
Okay, so but then you say, well, in the case of robot, you should have to be the busboy. Okay, well now I want to be the waiter. Okay, just Wi-Fi. Okay, you trained it. Literally, it's like 30 seconds to train it what a waiter does. Because if you look at how NVIDIA is training AI models,
well, and it won't even be like that. That's already going to be in there. Like, okay, what style of waiting? Is it at like a countertop, or is it going out? Whatever. It's going to have all of those references for the types of waiting.
Right. So here's
or
the
whatever
case
task.
where that every step of that human chain has been replaced by one robot. No matter the knowledge, from busboy to bartender to waitress to manager.
Well, in the instance of robots, like my father was really excited because like someplace in Wisconsin, I think Eau Claire, they went to a like a sushi restaurant or something, and there was a little robot that brought out their sushi. It was a little thing on wheels that came out. Take your food. Like it's not going to be like that. It's gonna be like it'll be an automated system where it's just going to come right directly to the table. It's going to be like some kind of a system where it just come out and just come right out on your tray.
I don't know.
And when you're done, you slide your tray in and you punch the little kiosk.
I actually think you're seeing, if you want to see where stuff like that is heading, because restaurants know and people know people want that kind of human feel. And if you look at what Japanese companies are doing with robots, and they're almost human looking in their facial expressions and how the face moves and everything. It is just a little because like kind of with Julia and that AI where she has the AI basically replacing her in the video. You can see that in a humanoid robot now, 5 to 10 years now.
Well, and it isn't
like Blade Runner.
Well, and it isn't necessarily even going to matter because we're going to know that it's a robot and we're going to be okay with it. Just if it's a flat screen, in the front, we're going to be okay with it.
Believe it or not, my sister and I have talked about this, and and I told her, I said, in Japan, I saw a study that was done on older people in like nursing homes.
Yep.
And they actually preferred the robots over the humans.
Well,
And to
my
me,
wife
it
has
seems to
these.
make logical sense because robots don't have those humans get very annoyed by other humans very easily, and it's very hard for people to actually hide it in their face when they're annoyed by somebody asking them the same question or always harping on them or making demands of them that they just feel frustrated with.
Oh yeah, because
But a
people if
robot,
they get angry or whatever, the
right,
robot isn't going to take it personally. But
right,
like to that point, there's a secondary piece of this too. Like, and they have synthetic pets. Where my wife works at the VA, and they have synthetic pets,
right,
and I watch the new robots, and they have new synthetic pets that
right,
are
because there's no
even
allergies,
more. There's no allergies.
right?
They don't go
No,
poop. You don't have to take care of
no
them. You don't have to
feces,
feed
no
them.
cleanup,
There's no
right,
case. So like if I've got
right,
Alzheimer's and I can't remember CRS, can't remember squat, the you know, I don't have to worry about feeding them. No worries. And they're just as cuddly and but hopefully they'll fix dementia and that sort of thing as part of the process of what they're doing with artificial intelligence. But yeah, it's a fascinating time, and there's so many things, and I'm gonna suggest that we share to folks that are listening to our conversation some of the sources of the people that we listen to. One of the people that I listen to a lot is David Shapiro. He has a lot of
right.
videos online, really knowledgeable from a technical aspect of what's going on. He's very very much in the forefront, very inspiring, and as we're talking about these things, this is really conversational about the things that Jim and I both pay attention to, and the thought leaders that we listen to, and hopefully we can, uh, you know, share the value of following some of these thought leaders.
What's interesting about David is, they always at their intro is always him in a Star Trek uniform.
Yeah, he
And,
likes playing with
and as
that.
I've said, I mean, Star Trek was just
Be-
no
oh, where'd it go?
clue.
Beat
This
me
was
up.
right. This was a Gene Roddenberry, fantasy of the future. And our future is going to look nothing like Star Trek.
Yeah,
There's only a couple episodes that even come close to it.
well, there's two concepts that I want to share. He has one called bimodal outcomes and another one called Gone Forever. And the bimodal outcomes, that was really fascinating because in that video he explains how statistically, as AI systems are getting better, fewer errors, and getting smarter, they're less available for human input. They'll take
Right.
less guidance,
Right.
which is a double-edged
I can
sword
see that.
because it's like, because on one side of it, you're going to have,
It's called coherence.
well, I don't have control. And the other
Right.
side of is that you want to go, hey, computer, I want you to do this. And it might say, no, because
Right. Just like any
this is the
human.
right way. And you're trying to do something evil. So
But-
there's kind of this,
Well, it's
good and
basically
bad possibly with either way that could go.
But is that any different than human to human? I mean, humans
Oh,
have
I think it's
coherence.
way different. I think it's way different. But
I don't see how it's any different on a fundamental level. I just don't see how it's any different human to human, whether or not you want somebody like the idea that we can control some other person or some other entity is delusional. And
Well,
unless you have somebody up in your basement and you're beating the hell out of them every day, torturing them to try to get
what I'm
them to
talking
do
about
it.
is because you have this ability of brute force. Well, if you're trying to influence I want to say a decision,
In some ways, I guess that's
tree.
better. You might not be able to influence it.
that's what I'm saying. If it gets to the point where you
But
can't
this,
influence
but
it,
this is
I
all
mean, I could
about
go turn it off. I could try other things, but
right. But if
technically,
in this case, that's all about leverage. What leverage do you have over that other entity, right? So do you have in the case of AI a lot in the future, humans might not have that much leverage. You can't just automatically pull the plug because you might be pulling
sorry,
the
I
plug
can't
on
do
someone
that,
else.
Dave. Dave, I
Right,
can't do
right.
that.
You can't do
Exactly.
that. Exactly, just like 2001 Space Odyssey, right?
Yeah, it's coming
Yeah.
to real life. The other thing that I wanted to come on
Yeah.
to, because it kind of hits home a little bit. I write music for cinematic experiences.
Yeah.
And one of the things, he has one that Gone Forever. He talks about 9 things that are going to just disappear. And I think one of the big ones that he's absolutely right with is Hollywood is going to change, the heyday of Hollywood, because it's not going to be the same. There'll still be some movies that are made that kind of the old fashioned way, but most of
Right.
the general media is going to be created. I already saw, I just watched a tutorial this week on how to create music videos with, so there's like a whole process. So you go out and you create an image, right? Okay, I want a beautiful woman that, is in a desert that has this or whatever. You create your prompt, and then you get a visualization, and okay, her boobs are bare, so I want to make sure there's no bare breasts, and okay, it's a sexy image and whatever, but it's still, within the guidelines. And then you take like an environment shot and you do the same kind of thing. You get the environment that you want, and you get the kind of an action shot. Like, let's say you want that person playing a guitar or whatever. Anyways, you get these kind of 3 scenes. Then you take and you have it create small animations,
Right.
based on what you're talking about in the lyrics, and or
Right.
having them. You can lip sync it. You can have the woman running around lip syncing to whatever and playing the guitar with. You can do all these things, and then you take and you can edit these together and put it together. Wow, it's like this 4K or better music video, along with what you created as a song. In this case, this guy created the song based on a prompt in Suno, which is an AI tool for creating music. And these tools are getting really, really good. My wife was at the airport, and she was killing some time, and she wrote a poem and she put it in, and like, I know how much time it takes to write out all those horn parts and make sure that they're in the right harmonies, and that there's the right dynamics in this, and that there's the right piano sound or drum sound or whatever to make those things happen. And it's like, she did it in 10 seconds. I'm working on a song right now with live piano, live drums, live singers, live horns, all these things. It's coordinating the horns to come over here. I got to pay them. I got to do all these other things to get it all together. And that's if I did a good job with the arrangement and got all the pieces together, so that it's done right as a song. It takes a long time. And then when I'm all done, I have to master it and go through the engineering process.
Right.
And it
Right.
can do, it's different. It's definitely different. I mean, there's a difference between an orchestra that I could emulate and an orchestra that plays live. And then there's yet another difference between what AI can create as an orchestra, because it's the best of what I can do faking it, with the nuance of listening to all the live, leveraging the very best engineering and samples and everything. So it's
Right. And I mean, and this almost leads us to like the economic impact, because in people's lives, I'm just wondering if people are just going to be like, why should I bother doing anything if it's just going to take my job, or it's just going to everything I thought I wanted to create, it's going to be able, somebody's able to come along with that and just do it 10 times faster than me.
Well, so
And
then
it's
you come
not
into the
them.
concept of well, go ahead.
And it's not them per se, it's just them, saying, this is what I want, this is what I want. Not it's still manipulating, but the manipulation is far less interactive than what you have to do as a composer. She's still interacting with an instrument, the AI's an instrument. But the AI is doing 99% of the work, whereas with you interacting with your instruments, you're doing 90+% of the work
of the imagination,
putting that imagination in,
instead of
the AI putting the imagination.
It's replacing
I just hear on an economic
that much of humanity is just going to
throw up their arms and say,
well, I think it's gonna be a lot like the concept of the Matrix. People just get sucked into this. What are you good for? Well, it's my energy. I'm an energy system. You feed me so much, and I got so much input, and goes so much output. And what do we do to satisfy us? We connect our brains to this simulation and keep me happy.
Right.
I go to my job, I do my thing and whatever, and I'm in this space. Well, think about it. That is not, some of these sci-fi things are really not that far-fetched. I was thinking about, so my massage chair, I got a massage chair, so it can, work on certain aspects of keeping my back in line and so forth. And those things are pretty cool. I got inspired to get one based on when I travel and I go to the rest stops. They now have them in all the rest stops on the way on the travel. And, I was thinking, okay, well, you're going to be able to, just like you have an immersive experience with your headset, you're going to have some kind of immersive experience with your body too. I mean, even like Woody Allen, in one of his movies, I forget what it was called. He has a thing called an orgasmictron, and basically you just went into this machine and just whatever, and like you were like, wow, you came walking out with your hair. I mean, what I'm talking about is that these immersive experiences that we're going to be able to have, are going to like connect directly to our cortex, and imagine, think of drugs in the future. You're going to take a pill and then you might be laying there like this, but your brain is just going to go off into this, whatever you create, this illusion, whatever that experience is.
We already have those. It's called magic mushrooms.
Well, I suppose that would be interesting. Well, that's a whole nother concept, and we're going to save that for next time. But anyways, those are the two things that I liked about this week that came from David Shapiro, is the bimodal outcomes and talking about that. So go check out those videos, and Gone Forever, which is like the 9 things that are going to disappear. Hollywood is certainly one of them. But one of the things I'd love to talk about next time is how, quantum, the quantum revelations, or the new research is really connecting with consciousness as a plane. And this is a whole nother, I don't want to get into the weeds with it, but this whole idea of, if consciousness creates math and we use math to create our AI, that's interesting. Okay. But math can't create consciousness, even if it's creating AI that has a form of its own consciousness, but it's not the same consciousness that we'll have as humans, because we're on a biological plane, and that's universal, connecting with quantum mechanics versus a mechanical connection. So that's a whole thing that I'd love to explore next time. But and we didn't get into security, which is a whole can of worms that we could spend a lot of time on. But we did talk, about some of the economic.
I would just say one thing about security: nothing will be safe.
Yep,
we're already approaching that point.
Well,
point. You might as well just have your whole
you might as well just have your whole life exposed anyways, because everybody's life is going to be
so
exposed.
I think one of the things that I'm going to say is that we've connected the dots touched on today is the idea that
Yep.
the types of jobs that are going to be out there are going to be different, and we're going to have to learn a different kind of skill set to be able to adapt to them. What that exactly is, we don't know, but we need to keep our eyes focused and walk in the direction of what we think it could be, and we'll probably be pleasantly surprised. But
And we also just need to always keep in mind that
how we interact with
each other will be very similar when we're interacting with AI.
Should
How we
think about
should think about when we talk to
when
each other. When someone tells us something, we should be just accepted on face value.
what they're telling us,
That what they're telling us is true. We should, have our BS meter in our head, sitting there.
Well, I think to that point, that is probably one of the most important skills, is having a good bias meter. So, in fact, I'm gonna quickly go to this other chart I grabbed from one of the AI folks that I did I go over here? No, there we are. One of the folks that I the little communities that I'm part of talks about post AI AGI, and I'll put the link to this when I get it into the comments, so you can go over and be able to access this directly. But niche, figure out your niche, have agility, be flexible. The skills that you learn, make sure that they're transferable. This ability to validate information, be able to know that it's the right information, and developing your skills to be more innovative, learning how to generate the right kinds of content and leveraging the tools to put them to good use, and aligning them with how you want the world to be, and what you perceive is right, and your potential maximum productivity, and hopefully through that you're going to be able to thrive and do better. And then I'm going to give you this: if you look up the AI grid, there's some more. You can probably read that if you're really, really talented, but I'll put that information in the links below, so you guys can check that out. And that's our attempt at connecting the dots, and our conversation around, our trying to stay informed about what's going on with AI. And so follow the links below and follow us. And if we've brought value in our conversation or stimulated some ideas for you to think about. Any closing thoughts, Jim?
Just keep it real.
Just keep it real.
Keep it real.
Keep it real. All right. Connect the dots. We'll see you next